O King, my King, much will occur between now and the beginning of events, and so we've much to consider. Every age we've been in seems to have been characterized by the church fending off lies from false prophets. We were given a prophetic sign, I believe, at the start of this era when in 1755, November 1st, All Saints' Day, an earthquake struck off the coast of Lisbon, Portugal, ravaging the city with a tsunami, and then would cause a great fire to burn throughout the city, which was destructive. When this earthquake occurred, ships at sea were still wooden for the most part. Horse carriages were the choice mode of transportation on land. Farming was done with animals. Kings and queens still existed for more than just pageantry, and flight was nothing more than dreams and scribbles in a Leonardo da Vinci notebook. Much has changed since then, but has it truly been for the better? 1. So the first integral question we have to ask is, what is the purpose of our lives? In the early 1800s, Blessed Catherine Ann Emmerich may have provided us the answer in the most direct form we've ever heard it. The demon had fallen from heaven, led by Lucifer, as we know from Revelation 12. But Emmerich tells us that this left vacancies in heaven, and that those vacancies would now need to be filled. 2. Do we then exist as souls to take the place of those fallen angels in heaven? We know that we will not become angels, but that we will only become like angels. We also know that Christ prepared a place for his apostles, like they were going to be awarded land in service to a king. 3. It would make much sense were it so that the demons interfere with us because we are going after what they deem to be their place in heaven. They want to prove that we are lowly, dirty creatures unworthy of these places, and so they do it by tempting us to sin, by convincing us to live for ourselves, and to live for the things of this world and not for the things of the next. 4. The false prophet of this era, from 1750 to now, is most certainly secularism, which sees nation by nation through revolts which infected academia and then seeped into government, manifesting in Masonic usurpations, some much more violent than others, the revenge of the barbarians. It is like the tsunami that hit Lisbon, the sea, the nations, the people, the tongues, they all invade. The beasts of Revelation 17, it flooded the world with secularism and transformed all nations into secularist entities. The cessation and subversion were complete by the end of World War I, and secularism brought with it artifice. 5. What is artifice? It is mining a corpse and expecting life, forgetting that we are but food for the fowls ourselves. We think of Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel. What was described is as quoted. Begin quote. And they said, "Come, let us make a city and a tower, the top whereof may reach to heaven, and let us make our name famous, before we be scattered abroad into all lands." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of Adam were building. And he said, "Behold, it is one people, and all have one tongue, and they have begun to do this. Neither will they leave off from their designs till they accomplish them indeed. Come ye, therefore, let us go down, and there confound their tongue, that they may not understand one another's speech." End quote. 6. The keys to artifice is that mankind comes together and combines their ideas and starts to build big things. In Genesis 11, they were building the Tower of Babel, and in our times, they've built what we call modern society with all of this marvelous technology. 7. Impurity is a great sin of our time. Purity is best characterized by the sin of Genesis 3. Although we look at disobedience and pride as its facilitators, it was to accept something before being prepared to live with that thing. We can give a child a car, for example, and the child can drive the car, crash it, and seriously injure himself or others. The child was not ready to drive it. Mankind was not prepared for the knowledge of good and evil. Many children become victims of predation of a sexual nature, and it is the same with them. They become damaged, often irreparably, and lose their ability to function properly when they reach maturity for this knowledge. 8. The demon is a great disruptor and purposely tempts us towards things we are not prepared to deal with. And when we do receive those things, we get corrupted and damaged, because everything has a time and a place, my king, and the demons want to disrupt even that. 9. They consider the Enlightenment, that time when the so-called realists usurped the so-called romantics, disenchanted humanity, and cast their own bad enchantment on humanity with a dominating empirical philosophy, which is called commonly the scientific method, that they wanted to use this to define all things in the world. 10. The scientific method is useful in machining because it builds a society based on studying process for what happens and what does not happen. So, it is not the scientific method itself that is false prophecy. It's useful. It is, however, useless in theology because angels only reveal everything in its proper time to be revealed, whereas demons reveal everything in its improper time to do as much damage to humanity as possible. The only proactivity that men can have in theology is the same kind of proactivity dogs can exercise when waiting for food from their master, lest those dogs become disobedient and given to their own whims. Men look for kingship, but rarely look for a master to submit to. Such is part of the predilection of original sin, which is that thing that contorted us in the first place. 11. People who are Satan worshippers will tap into the fallen angels for their knowledge, and fallen angels are far more miserable, more than miserable enough to share this knowledge with men whom they despise, and whom they know are not ready for that knowledge. They know this. That's why they're doing it. Fallen angels have a tendency to tell selective truths that hide critically relevant details, as we've seen in Genesis 3. 12. Men like Aleister Crowley have had a gigantic cultural influence on this world, and if you think he was the only one, my king, oh, you are sadly mistaken. Many of these people have existed and operate in secret. Now, for example, because these men tap into the fallen angels with satanic rituals, which are specifically designed as a form of meritocracy. The more committed these individuals are to spreading malice, they will be the ones given knowledge. So, the demons will say, well, if you want knowledge, go torture a dog. And then this gives them their merit. Demons want effective agents as well. They don't just take anybody. 13. We likewise have our mystics and saints who tap into angelic knowledge, like Blessed Catherine Ann Emmerich, because they have given themselves to God through their sufferings and through acts of great faith. They ask, and they receive. 14. In our secularist world, both mystics and what I can call satanic wizards are held in obscurity because the devil prefers to work in the shroud of darkness, and mystics cause incredulity from men who do not want to believe such things, especially the secularists of our time. 15. Part of the lure of artifice is that it wants to subdue all men into thinking that angels and devils do not exist, as if we were lowly animals abandoned to a degenerate heap and left for dead, and that all things of an obscure nature, though it may lack an explanation, simply merits more study until an empirical explanation is supplied. It is these hidden dogmas that rule the people of our times. The false prophet has penetrated our veins and our sinews and our thoughts and our very heart. Many of us cannot isolate the soul from the flesh because the soul is given so little nourishment that it remains but a pale suffering object hidden away in a box of assumptions and never to be checked for the mere inconvenience that doubts would cast on our lives, like opening Pandora's box, knowing that so many gnats would be let loose, but forgetting that the star of hope is inside of that box, and must come out too when we open it. The gnats are all of the sins you've committed, and the star of hope is your call to repentance. 16. These dogmas are so powerful that it has even infected the hierarchy of the church and has led to widespread apostasy. Again, those who have little or no faith say, no, this is not true, because the church has mystical protection, because they are incredulous. And the artifice of this world has given us all these wonders, and so the wonders must come from God, and all must be good. But those who have the faith all will know that evil will victimize any man or any institution if such men or institutions do not stay vigilant and fall asleep on their watch. We've seen the church heavily damaged by heresy in the past, and so we cannot act incredulous when it happens again, because John, James, and Peter, afraid of the crucifixion, fall asleep, wanting to dismiss Christ's sweating of blood, wanting to dismiss Christ's distress. 17. The greatest evidence for apostasy is the same as evidence for a bad king. A bad king fails to identify threats and delegates his warriors to fight needless battles while the critical battles are not being fought and the enemy is running amok. Exorcists admit that demonic activity has gone up substantially since the 1960s, so substantially that it's a parabolic curve in the wrong direction. 18. So now we ask the critical question: was all of this artifice, metal ships, combustion power, electricity, medicine, radio, TV, the internet, and now artificial intelligence, was all this given to humanity by demons before humanity was ready for such things? Was humanity actually supposed to go into a different direction altogether? Is humanity haplessly building its own misery and destruction? 19. You, my king, must contemplate this mystery as I do. When mankind is truly reset, greatly reset, it will go back to where it was last found. It will go back to the moment where we can say, yes, let us live with the faith and listen to heaven rather than to men, that God lead us according to where we were meant to be led. If it takes us through pain, through working on farms, through long wagon rides, through writing handwritten letters through couriers, then who are we to argue? Perhaps the Amish were given to protect this. If it be God's will, our wills must be united to His. 20. So, militaries now are capable of such destructive power that it seems inconceivable how any army not dependent on artifice will be able to combat them. And I know the secret armies, not just the known ones. I know that they have far more destructive power than they let on. My king, if you have difficulty with this question, you do not even know that even one lowly angel can ruin them all, let alone God. We as mankind are not permitted to do anything except what is allowed us to do, as God permitted Job to be tormented by the devil. 21. So those who have the thrones these days will say, "Are you not entertained?" They will say, "Have we not extended your lives?" They will say, "Have we not healed your illnesses?" They will say, "Have we not made your lives easier? Have we not taken you to faraway places in short spans of time? Have we not cared for you more than the heavens have? Because we have given these things and they have not." But the one thing they have not given us is the one thing we want the most: the eternal welfare of our soul, that potential place in heaven that waits for each and every one of us that the demons sorely do not want us to have. If anything offers you anything but, it is of the evil one and not of God, even if it seems a good thing. 22. And so we live in a matrix far beyond our understanding, having fallen used to the wiles of modernism. All of this technology and the evidence of being from the devil is the massive degenerative state that it has left humanity in. It is like we are in a dream, a green dream, and we are about to have a very rude awakening. 23. For now, we use this matrix, just as the Jews were captive under Roman law during the time of Christ and could not fully follow Mosaic law. We accept confinement, imprisonment, and such things for the time being, but there will come a time where Christ comes to all of us and gives us that command: follow me. And we will have to leave it all behind because it is the Spirit that gives life. The flesh is useless. You, O King, will be called to rise at your hour, and you must accept that God's ways are not the ways of men. You will be like Joshua crossing across the Jordan, taking on giants and people who outnumber them. That we must mind. And again, that God's ways are not the ways of men, that we must mind what is living, which is of God, and not mind the corpse, which is of the evil one. Our Lady's mantle cover you and protect you, my King, and the blood of our Lord save you.